Hello, amazing hackers. Hope you're all doing well today. This is your favorite hacking rodent here, coming to you from Belgium, the beautiful country of Belgium, where the sun is shining and the weather is sweet. Today, I would like to talk to you guys a little bit about parenting and what it means to have a kid and be a hacker at the same time. Because as you guys might know or might not know, now you know, I have my own company. If you guys need a pen test, let me know, info@thexssrat.com. And having a company and a little kid at the same time can be very, very challenging, especially since I do most of my work from home. I could also get like an office, of course, but I don't really like that. Now that I get to spend time with my kid at home, I want to spend time with my kid at home. So I have to admit this, I'm extremely privileged in this position. I get to spend time with my kid and I get to determine when I get to work and when not. But I just wanted to give you guys some of the challenges that I still do face quite a lot and how I deal with them because it can be quite challenging to have children. Though, don't get me wrong, they are really a blessing. They really do change your life. And I don't say this in any kind of sarcastical way. I really mean it. My kid has totally made me into a different person, and I'm forever grateful for the person who I'm turning out to be because of her. She's really helping me be a better version of myself, and that's all I can ask for. And I know that sounds cliche, but it is true. Um, Even though it can be great, there are some challenges as well, of course, and every single parent will probably know this. Like, a kid can be very, very challenging at times, especially since, like, for example, I have to get my work done. But of course, children don't understand that your work needs to be done. So I am very privileged in the fact that I can get I have a separate room where I can go and sit. I don't often do it, but if I need to, I can go and sit in that room. Not everybody has that option. You can also go outside or even go work in your car if you really have to. Like it doesn't have to be for hours at a time, but if you have an important meeting and you really have to deal with that and you don't want anybody to interrupt, you can always go and sit in your car for like an hour or something. It's not going to be the end of the world to be a little bit cold outside. Go put on a sweater, like a virtual background like this is in any kind of meeting software these days. So it shouldn't be too much of a hassle anymore. Now, the second point that I want to make is that every single time, like, how do you divide your day, right? Because we are all, or at least the people who have kids are parents, well, but the parents among us, like we all know that having a kid does require you to distribute your day a lot better, a lot more carefully than you normally would have when it was just you and your partner, because it's different, of course. They need to go to practice, they need to go to swimming, they need to go to school, they need to get picked up from all of those things as well. And of course, there are grandparents, which I am very grateful for, that the grandparents of Nori are really, really helpful in any kind of regard. Anything that we need, we can always ask for, and it's not a problem. So that's a big, big plus for us. But of course, if you really feel like you need to work, then like don't be afraid to tell people that you need to work as well. I always get like this impression that people say you should at all costs enjoy time with your child. Your child is the most precious thing on earth. And while that is definitely true, your child is extremely precious, but good luck spending time with them if you have no money left, if you can't pay the bills. So of course there are priorities in life. A child should be very high up your priority list, but don't expect it to overtake everything because that's just not the way how life works. Bills will always have to be paid. Don't feel guilty for that. Don't feel guilty for saying, I have to work now. I'm sorry, but I will make playtime for you in a little bit. That's what I always try to say. I always say, like, in an hour, I'm coming to play with you, sweetie. And that usually sends her off for like 5 minutes and then she'll be back. Then I'll repeat the same thing. In an hour, I'll be off to play with you, honey. And then it'll be like a rolling logging mechanism. Just kidding, of course. Like, do take the time to play with your kids, of course, but don't take all of these words to heart. Like it's not some kind of utopia that you're suddenly landing into. Of course you need to take the time with your kids because it's time that you're never going to get back anymore, but it's also no use putting yourself into debt over that stuff. So just make sure that everything's fine first, and then you can go spend time with your kid. And even then like you need to take care of you a little bit as well. Of course, you need to play a little bit of a game every now and again at night. You already work, then you usually play with the kid until they go to bed. At least that's how I do it. And then you need some time for yourself. So don't be afraid to take some of the time to just chill and play a game. And even though the house might look like a mess sometimes because there's toys everywhere and you're breaking your neck falling over the glass marbles, like break your neck for one. No, no, just kidding, of course. Don't break your neck. That would be usually that's not too healthy. But like don't stress over it too much either. If it's a little bit dirtier in the house for like a day, if you are lucky enough to have like grandparents that want to help and that have the time to come and help, definitely don't be afraid to ask either. Like, hey, having a little bit of trouble getting the laundry done. Can you do like a basket of laundry for me? And usually grandparents, at least in my opinion, are happy to help. Not always, of course. I know that there are definitely exceptions, and really, I'm sorry that that happens to you because like that's terrible. And of course, like I'm talking about not all grandparents being there anymore, but also just not all grandparents sometimes being in the lives of the grandchildren anymore. Um, it's all terrible. Like I'm just glad that my kid gets to grow up knowing her grandparents. And like that's something I also had a little bit of trouble with is letting go, you know. My kid always wants to go to her grandparents. Don't get me wrong, I love that she wants to be at her grandparents. I would prefer nothing less than that. Like if she didn't like going to her grandparents, I'd feel terrible. But of course she does like going to her grandparents. They're all great people. The thing is, though, it feels bad because your kid doesn't say, I want to go to mom and dad to you, at least not in your face. And it's normal because there's some great advice I've been given there is the fact that, like, you need time for yourself. You need time for your wife, for your partner, for your husband. You need time for each other. That's really important. But you also need to be able to work. You need to be able to let go a little bit, and you need to have them let them have their time. They're gonna have grandchildren someday, or these children, and they're gonna be our grandchildren. So it's or potentially not. That's all up to them, of course. But like right now it's the turn of the grandparents to spoil the children if that's possible. That's some tips that somebody gave me, and I'm like really appreciative of that because it really made me see that I shouldn't be so bad, that I shouldn't feel bad about feeling bad, if that all makes sense. Anyway, I'm just rambling on. Just know that if you are a parent currently, you're working in cybersecurity, that you should also just take your time, plan a little bit more realistically, and plan realistically. So that means that if you have like 10 minutes, 15 minutes to spare every single day, then like make sure that you chop up your work into 10, 15-minute blocks. Usually you'll have like maybe an hour to spare here and there. So make sure that your work is dividable into hour-long chunks. That's a very important one, or half hour, or at least that you can spread out those chunks over multiple days if need be. But your planning is going to have to be a little bit better than it used to be. And that's going to have to be the case anyway. At least for me, it was really bad. Now I'm going to have to be a little bit better, or have been for the past few years, because of course the kid has school as well. They need to go to school, they need to get up in the morning, get there. That wasn't usually my problem, but remembering dates, remembering when you had to go to a parent day, remembering when like the kid has to go to a field day, remember when she has to take the bike to school. There's always these things that you have to plan for, and especially more so with a kid because they definitely rely on you for that. Last thing, don't feel too bad about yourself. Raising a kid is fucking hard, my friends. Even though they might be little rats sometimes, they can be super, super cute, but they can also bite your toes. So be careful, my friends, and I hope to see you in the next one. Bye, amazing hackers.